Stitch with me. Hi, my name's Lauren. I teach visible mending and embroidery, and today I thought we'd go over some basic stitches. This is something that's very simple. You can do yourself to learn and practice at home. You'll need a pen, a ruler or straight edge, something to give yourself a straight line, some thread, needle, and scissors. When I'm threading a needle, I like to keep the tail of the thread very, very minimal and in between my thumb and pointer finger. That way I can slide the needle right over. Starting off, we're going to use the running stitch. This first section is in real time because I wanted to give you a genuine idea about how fast I actually do this. When I'm teaching, I like to start on a solid line so you can get an idea of how the needle and thread feel in your hands and how your hands work together. The running stitch is just an in and out stitch. You are making tiny little stitches on the top and on the bottom of the fabric, and you're pulling it all the way through. So on the solid lines, we're really just working on how we're holding the needle, how we're holding the fabric in our non-dominant hand, and just how that feels. You want to practice getting the stitches all the same length. That's why you're going to give yourself a couple more lines so you can just keep going, and practice makes perfect. The third line, I wanted to show you what a basting stitch looks like. This is going to be a lot faster, not as neat. The stitches are a lot wider and not as tight. Basting stitch is something you're going to do to tack on a patch, in this particular case of mending, and you're going to cut it away later. Moving on to the lower lines, these dashes are drawn 1/4 of an inch apart. This is meant to show you what it will be like to mend on a 1/4 inch grid. Whether you transfer that grid with your own pen and paper, tracing tools, or with our stick and stitch guides, this is what it's going to be like. You're going to bring your needle at the front of the dash from underneath the fabric, cover the stitch, and bring your needle down at the end of the dash. I'm really using my non-dominant hand to manipulate the fabric over my needle. I find this is the fastest for me, and I get the most accuracy. Now, depending on what kind of fabric you're using, this is not going to be this easy. If you have multiple patches, you're not going to get this many passes on each needle, but this is just practice. This is just to get muscle memory in your hands. Now, the third line are much smaller. When you're drawing your dashes at home to practice, you're going to want to make them about the length of a grain of rice, with the space in between dashes being 1/3 of the dash. This is where traditional burrow stitching really comes into play. These dash lines would be normally made over solid lines where you transfer geometric patterns, and the dashes themselves are in art form. Join me in part 2 of the video where I cover other stitches that we've talked about in these videos. So grab some thread, practice a little, and join me on the next.